Which came first, the chicken or the egg? A conundrum that has puzzled minds for centuries. This question has sparked debates, fueled theories, and ignited curiosity across different fields of study. From a scientific lens, it's a puzzle about evolution and genetics. Philosophically, it's a quandary about cause and effect. From a religious standpoint, it's a discourse on creation and existence. Now we're about to embark on a journey to explore the scientific theories that attempt to answer this question. The theory of evolution provides a fascinating explanation. With these words, we delve into the realm of Charles Darwin and his groundbreaking theory of evolution. Darwin's theory, in its essence, is about change. It's about the continuous, gradual transformation of species over countless generations, each minute change building up over time to create something entirely new and unique. Now, let's apply this to our feathered conundrum. Picture a world where chickens as we know them don't yet exist. Instead, there's a bird that's almost a chicken but not quite. Let's call it the proto-chicken. This bird, like all creatures, carries a unique set of genetic codes that define its characteristics. One day, two proto-chickens mate, and the egg they produce carries a slightly altered version of their genetic code. This change, possibly due to a mutation, is where the magic happens. This mutation in the egg's DNA is responsible for the creation of the first true chicken, hence the egg must have come first. But how exactly does this happen? Well, it's all down to genes. Genes are the blueprints of life, the instructions that build every organism. These genes are passed down from parents to offspring, carrying with them the traits and characteristics of the species. But sometimes these genes change or mutate, and these mutations can lead to new traits, or even entirely new species. And that's what happened with our proto-chicken. A genetic mutation in the egg resulted in a bird that was slightly different from its parents. Over time, these small changes added up, leading to the birth of the chicken as we know it. This is the beauty of evolution. It's a slow, gradual process that can transform one species into another given enough time. It's not a sudden, drastic leap from one creature to another, but a series of small, incremental steps that lead to something entirely new. So, from an evolutionary perspective, the egg takes the crown. It's the vessel of change, the cradle of evolution, the birthplace of new species. And in the case of our chicken and egg conundrum, it's the egg that came first. Genetics also weighs in on this debate. Let's dive into the genetic perspective of this age-old question. You see, genetic changes, the driving force behind evolution, occur at conception. This means that any new traits or characteristics a creature might have are decided when the sperm meets the egg. So, if we assume that the first real chicken came about as a result of a genetic mutation, then it's reasonable to think that this genetic change occurred in the egg stage, not after the creature hatched. The egg, therefore, was the first to carry the genetic code for what we now recognize as a chicken. But let's back up a bit. Before there were chickens, there were creatures that were almost but not quite chickens. Picture a bird that's a sort of a proto-chicken. This creature, which we'll call chicken 0.9, laid eggs. Inside one of these eggs, a genetic mutation occurred, resulting in a creature we'd recognize as chicken 1.0, the first true chicken. If we follow this line of thinking, it leads us to an interesting conclusion. The egg that held the first true chicken wasn't laid by a chicken, but by its almost chicken predecessor. So, in a sense, the egg came before the chicken. But this wasn't a chicken egg, because it was laid by chicken 0.9, not chicken 1.0. Does the label chicken egg refer to an egg laid by a chicken, or an egg that contains a chicken? If the former, the chicken came first. If the latter, the egg did. But if we're talking about genetic mutations and evolution, the egg seems to hold the trump card. After all, it's in the egg that these crucial genetic changes occur. It's the egg that carries the blueprint for the new creature. In the world of genetics, it's all about who carries the code, and in the case of the chicken and the egg, that honor goes to the egg. Genetics seems to point towards the egg as well. Biology offers another viewpoint. Imagine a world where everything is defined by the characteristics of its outcome. In such a world, we would define a chicken egg as an egg from which a chicken hatches. This definition implies that the egg-laying creature capable of producing such an egg must have existed first. Therefore, from a strictly biological perspective, the chicken must have come before the egg. This assertion might seem counterintuitive, especially in light of the evolutionary and genetic arguments we've previously discussed. However, it's important to remember that biology is not just about tracing lineage and genetic changes. It's also about understanding the processes and mechanisms that lead to the creation of new life forms. And in this context, the chicken is a necessary prerequisite for the chicken egg. Consider the process of egg formation. In birds, this process begins when an ovum, or egg cell, is released from the female's ovary. This ovum travels down the oviduct where it's fertilized by sperm if available. The eggshell is then formed around the fertilized ovum, creating what we know as an egg. But here's the catch. The eggshell is made of calcium carbonate, a substance that the bird obtains from its diet and stores in its body. So, without the bird, in this case the chicken, there can be no egg. The biological argument is not about which came first in absolute terms. Rather, it's about the conditions necessary for the existence of a chicken egg. And according to this argument, the chicken, with its ability to lay calcium carbonate-encased eggs, must have come first. Of course, this argument has its limitations. It doesn't address how the first chicken came into existence or the gradual changes that might have occurred in its egg-laying ancestors. But it does offer a perspective that aligns with our understanding of biology and the processes of life. Biology seems to side with the chicken. There are also philosophical and religious perspectives to consider. Let's step into the realm of philosophy. Causality, an integral part of philosophical discourse, raises the question, what causes what? In the case of our chicken and egg conundrum, the issue of causality becomes an intriguing puzzle. If we argue that the chicken came first, we're then pressed to answer, what caused the chicken? And if we suggest the egg came first, the same question arises. What caused the egg? This philosophical argument loops back on itself, creating an infinite regression that leaves us with more questions than answers. It encapsulates the essence of causality and the mystery of existence itself. The chicken and egg question in this light transcends biology and becomes a metaphorical exploration of cause and effect, of beginnings and endings, and of the cyclical nature of life. Now let's shift gears and delve into the religious perspective. In many creationist beliefs, the chicken is often considered to have been created first. For instance, in Christian tradition, the book of Genesis asserts that God created birds, which would include chickens, before commanding them to be fruitful and multiply. This implies that the chicken came before the egg. In Hindu mythology, the world hatched from the cosmic egg, making the egg the source of all life. The interpretation, however, varies across cultures and religious beliefs, each offering a unique perspective on this age-old question. It's worth noting that these philosophical and religious views are not intended to debunk or compete with scientific theories. Instead, they provide alternative lenses through which we can ponder the question, enriching our understanding and appreciation of the world's mysteries. These views add another layer of complexity to our question. So, where does all this leave us? We've journeyed through the realms of evolution, genetics, biology, philosophy, and religion, each offering its unique perspective on our age-old conundrum. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? We delved into the evolutionary theory, where the idea of a proto-chicken laying the first chicken egg was explored. This theory, backed by Charles Darwin's natural selection, argues that over generations of minor genetic adjustments, the egg of a creature that was not quite a chicken eventually birthed a creature that was. In the genetic perspective, we shifted our focus to DNA and genes. Here, the argument leans towards the chicken, suggesting that specific genetic mutations that resulted in the chicken as we know it today could only have occurred in a living creature, not within an egg. The biological argument, on the other hand, emphasized the role of avian reproduction and the unique structure of the chicken egg, again suggesting that the egg came first. We then ventured into philosophy and religion, where various beliefs and metaphysical debates bring a whole new level of complexity to the discussion. While science leans towards the egg, the chicken versus egg debate remains an intriguing puzzle, reminding us of the wonders of life and evolution. Despite the scientific consensus, the question continues to spark curiosity, stimulate debate, and serve as a metaphor for life's unsolvable mysteries.